In this video, we're going to go over the assembly of a base material valve for a 437 Big Bear. The assembly process for this is the same as the catalyst material valve, just smaller scale. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use some grease to lubricate some of the mating surfaces. And my machine is running a structural silicone, so I'm using a silicone-based Moly Coat 33 medium extreme low temperature grease. This stuff is great, and it's what we use for all of our components. So I use an acetone brush. I'm going to go ahead and just get a little bit of grease all over the inside of these bodies. And while I've got the brush, each one of these lifters I'm going to pack with O-rings, so I'm going to put a little bit of grease around each lifter. Once I have all those greased up, I'm going to proceed with loading each one with O-rings. Each lifter is going to get 2 Teflon O-rings and 1 brown Viton O-ring. And it's important on these have you can't see it in the video, but they've got a diagonal cut in them. And you want the ends of that diagonal cut to mate with each other instead of being overlapping the other way when you install them. So pay attention to that when you install it. So I put one Teflon O-ring, followed by a brown Viton, finally followed by one more Teflon O-ring, and then I use grease to just fill in the gaps. And I'm going to do the same thing with the remaining 7. Alright, once we have all those packed, we're going to put in the last O-rings, and then we'll start the assembly. Again, always with the O-rings, a little bit of grease. We've got the 2 backup Teflon O-rings and the 2 Viton O-rings, and these are going to go 1 on each inner diameter of each of these blocks. Starting with the Teflon one, again, remember it's got that chevron cut in it. Make sure that that seats properly. And then next with the brown. And then finally, my 2 stainless steel washers cover those O-rings. Now I'm going to put each one of these wavy washers. It's a little spring washer, and each one goes in one of the cutouts and the top and the bottom of this material valve. Make sure you only put 1 spring in each hole. Now we're going to install our lifters. You have 2 different diameters. You have a smaller diameter and a larger diameter, and these only go in one way. So you're going to put these into the bores and then work them in and push them down. And you will notice there's a little bit of a bounce with that spring washer underneath. Every time I push one in, I'm checking to make sure it's bouncing on that spring to make sure it's seated properly. Sometimes when you're installing these, one of the Teflon O-rings gets hung up. You can just use a little screwdriver or a hook or something to just kind of manipulate that O-ring into the correct position so that they install. Okay, I've checked each one of these that they're bouncing correctly. They're engaging with the spring, and all of my lifters are installed. The next step is going to be to insert my rotor shaft. I'm going to insert this into the shaft, and the orientation of this is very important, and we'll show you that in a second. So looking at this, I have my dowel pin on this side and on that flat face, and I'm looking at the flat face on the bottom of this on the bottom of this stem here, this shaft. So I want this flat face on either side. I want that to be parallel with a face that has the dowel pin in it. And in that right, you can see that the point of the hex is facing directly towards you. But those flats on the bottom being parallel with the flats on the side here. I'm going to install my large diameter O-ring around the face. And then finally my rotor. Again, the orientation of this is very critical. So with my dowel pin on my left, your right, I'm going to make sure, we call these the eyes, I'm going to make sure that they are facing towards me. This rotor has a cutout hole connecting this hole to this hole, and a cutout connecting this hole to this hole. And we want to make sure that those cutouts are, again, parallel to our outside edges. I don't want to put it in crooked because it won't actuate correctly and it won't give us the correct orientation of the valve. So the eyes are facing toward me with my pin on the left hand side. Now I finish it off by locating the top dowel pin and putting the top of the material valve on. Now I'm going to install these screws, and I put a little bit of nickel anti-seize on these screws so that next time you need to refurbish this, they come out nice and easy. And to do that, I'm going to use a 3/8 Allen key. I'm going to put this in the vise and tighten these off screen and be right back. Once you have those bolts installed, we're going to flip the valve over, making sure we don't spin this shaft yet. We want to maintain that orientation. I'm going to install my final pieces. I've got 2 springs. One goes in each hole here, followed by a little ball bearing on top of each spring. These are my detents. And I'm going to load up this area with plenty of grease. Finally, I'm going to put my locator on there. Sometimes a little bit of grease will help it install easier. Slide it into place. And then my little tiny C snap ring is going to go into the groove. Make sure you put it from the side. It won't hold if you go over the top. So we're going to go over the side. I'm going to push the detents down, those springs down, and use a little screwdriver to slide this C-ring into that groove. There. And my dust cover, just a couple spots of grease to make it stick. And that is the base material valve assembly.